Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. What are you guys doing back so soon? Oh, I forgot to tell you what all things you needed for a crawfish boil, all the essential things that you have to do in order to do a successful boil. Well, obviously the first thing you need is crawfish. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I've got my crawfish in the shade and I've put a towel over them. We talked about this in the other video, but you just want to, like we got these at about 7 o'clock this morning. So what you want to do is make sure that you're coming by here a couple times, maybe once an hour or so, and just kind of soaking this towel down and keeping them in the shade. That's going to help them stay pretty vibrant throughout the day, and you're not going to have to worry about cooking a bunch of dead crawfish. So that's kind of the first thing you need. Let's go over to our equipment. So the first major thing you need for any crawfish boil is you want a big pot. Right here we have a 100-quart pot. That quart right there, that's a 60-quart pot. So that'll take about a bushel of crabs. This is perfect right here for a whole sack of crawfish. So if you're cooking somewhere in the 30 to 40 pound range, you can do all of that in one of these. Now what's cool about these pots is they have one of these baskets on the inside. So I've already got this one filled up with water because we're about to boil. But these baskets are great for when your boil's done. You can just take everything out of the pot all at once. You'll notice that I have this thing set up on this wood board right here. And for me, what this does is it just really helps you, maintain as level of a surface as possible if you're not cooking on concrete. And I just like this approach to it a little bit better. It keeps you from getting muddy around the pot when you're dumping water everywhere. Just helps you keep a little bit of a cleaner workspace. I will say, if you use it though, make sure you put some bricks under your jet burner. That'll do is it'll help you stop from burning this wood, because you'll start to get a little bit of a nice char smell if you don't do that. The next kind of point is the jet burner. You got to have a jet burner. I've never heard of anybody doing it without it. I'm sure you could make it happen, but these jet burners, they basically concentrate that heat in such a way that it's going to make your water come up to a boil much quicker. So how these work is you've got a little regulator here, and that's really where basically it pressurizes that fuel that's coming out of that little jet down there. So it's going to sound like a jet engine when you turn it on. That's how you're going to get this thing up to a roaring boil as quickly as possible. It's a lot of water, and you're putting somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 gallons in one of these things. So it's really imperative that you have one of those. The next thing that I always like to have is a nice paddle. Usually one that's not coated. Mine that I keep down in Louisiana is actually an old boat paddle that all the varnish has been rubbed off of. To worry about getting in your food. I picked this one up at the local sporting goods store, and it's been good. I mean, what it does, it helps you if you want to stir in your seasonings or anything like that. Just makes it, a little easier than trying to take a pot from in the kitchen or something like that. Next thing that I always like to do is one of these laundry bags. You can see this one actually says crawfish bag on it. Once again, got it from a local sporting goods store. You can pick these up just about anywhere. They're maybe $4 or $5. You can pick one up from Walmart in the laundry aisle as well. But this just makes it real easy when you want to do your veggies, or you want to do your seasonings and stuff, or you're doing something that's a little bit smaller in your boil, like something like broccoli or cauliflower. Perfect. Just throw it in this bag and toss it in your boil. The next thing you want is some kind of seasoning. This is not my favorite seasoning. I've actually never used the Cajun Land seasonings, but you want something like Zatarain's or Louisiana fish fry products. Any of those are good, and you can make your own too. There's recipes online that make it real easy for seasoning. And great thing about this is this one will season an entire sack of crawfish, so just throw it in that pot and go. You also want some additional seasoning as well, because as you go through the process of boiling, obviously your seafood's going to absorb some of that boil, and you're going to want to use that pot again for your veggies or your corn or your potatoes or whatever. So you're going to want to put a little bit of additional seasoning in there. So it's good to have like some little additional pouches of it on hand as well. Kind of moving on, it's essential to any good boil is some crawfish trays. These things are awesome. Little pro tip is if you wrap these in a garbage bag, it makes the cleanup easy. You don't have to go hosing these off and washing them down with soap. You just wrap a garbage bag around it inside out, and then cinch your garbage bag up when you're done, throw them in the trash, or if trash day is not tomorrow, toss it in the freezer and you're good to go. Kind of one of the last things we probably should have covered when we covered the burner was you got to have some propane. I prefer to keep a full tank of propane around, but if your tank isn't completely full, you can get through a few miles on a tank pretty easily. But I recommend having at least one full tank, if not having a couple of tanks around just in case you run out. And then one of these longer lighters, these extended lighters are great for lighting the fire under that jet burner. You don't need one of those big propane lighters or anything. These work just fine, but it's a little bit easier than doing a match, which would certainly work. And of course, I kind of call this my trinity of my boil. Before you put any of your seafood in, something I always like to do is I put my onions, garlic, and lemon in. I just find that it adds an awesome flavor, and then you can eat the onion and the garlic when you're done, and you get this stuff nice and soft, and you squeeze it on those crawfish or save it for later. Toss it up in a salad or something the next day. Talking money right there. So, kind of one of the last big things that you'll want to do for your boil is well, of course you'll want little adult beverage. No crawfish boil is complete without it. But one thing you want as well is a good cooler. This cooler is going to serve a few purposes. This one right here is a roto-molded cooler, so it's going to hold my temperature really well when my seafood's boiled. But you're going to use this in your initial phases as well when you're cleaning your crawfish out. You're going to take them out of the sack. You're going to put them in here, and then you're going to run water over them until you see clear water coming out. And that's just going to get all that dirt and funk off of those crawfish. So makes it just makes the process easier. You're going to see when you go to the store, they're going to have these buckets and bins and stuff that are set up for doing that, but you don't need to buy anything else. If you got a good cooler, you should be fine. And then obviously when your seafood boil's done, you're gonna, if you clean your cooler out, throw it in there, and then you're good to go. It's just, I will warn you, with one of these roto-molded coolers, you're gonna want to make sure that you're not keeping that lid closed for too long, because if you do, you run the risk of starting that cooking process over again, and then you're gonna overcook your food. So yeah, that's what's awesome about these things, is the fact that they hold that temperature so well, but it can also be your worst enemy when you're dealing with your seafood. So, but I definitely recommend not going out and buying anything specific for when you're cleaning those crawfish, anyways. So the only other thing that you'll need to do a successful boil for the whole process is, one, you'll need some additional vegetables. So I like to do cauliflower, carrots, sausage is always good, and there's all kinds of other things you can throw in there. Mushrooms, obviously a fan favorite. So you'll want some of that kind of stuff in there as well, and then you'll want some ice on hand. The ice is going to help you bring that water down to a temperature that stops the cooking process on those crawfish. Some folks will buy the frozen corn, throw it in there, and hopefully in hopes of cooling that water down. I just like the approach of using the bag of ice because I like to do my vegetables separate from my seafood. Just a personal preference. The biggest thing is to have fun with it, and I think that's the next thing you need to bring to a boil is a fun-loving attitude. You got to be ready to go out there and just have some fun. You can't screw anything up. It's very simple. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our boil here, so stick around because we're gonna do some additional boiling here in a few minutes. All right, we're cleaning these crawfish up. One thing I didn't mention, you want a good set of gloves when you're doing this, because you're going to be handling some of these guys like that one who was trying to jump out. And this is a good time to take a look at your crawfish too and see if you have any that are that are not alive anymore or kind of passed away during the process of shipment. So what you're trying to do with this is you're trying to just get all that mud and dirt off of these crawfish, because you don't want to eat all of that. That's as simple as that. And one thing you'll notice is I had this ice chest sitting in the shade. The reason I was doing that and I had it set open was because you want this ice chest to be nice and cool when these guys and these little critters get in there. So I don't know, I think we might have a dead one here. So see that one? See how it's tail straight like that? You don't want that going in your boil, so throw them out. So you'll get a few more of those in there, but in general, this looks like a pretty lively bunch in here, so we should be good. So we're letting our water get up to a boil, so we'll bring you guys back when we're ready to put these guys into the pot and get to cooking. Water's boiling. Let's get these crawfish in the basket. So you can see I put that towel on top of them to keep them cool while I was running that water over them. Make sure you don't have any stragglers in your towel. Ready to put these in? Oh, missed one. She's rolling. Okay, now that we got those in, we're just gonna be looking for steam coming out of that pot, and we're gonna start our timer. You want those suckers in there for about 5 minutes, so we'll just wait till we get that boil, and then we'll hit it. And then we'll be ready to soak them, and pull them out and eat. Okay, we're getting the egg fired up, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna smoke that sausage that we're gonna throw into the boil, but I believe it's time to go get those crawfish out. So let's go. So we've been boiling for about 5 minutes. Now I don't know if you guys can see, but there's steam coming out of there. That's a telltale sign that we've been boiling. So it's time to go ahead and cut that water off the boil. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, look at that. Rolling. So now it's time to cut this thing off. All right. See, it's still boiling. We want to stop that. I'm going to go ahead and actually pull our Trinity out and ice on. Hopefully I can get most of it in the pot. All right. Now that should bring us down from boiling. It's going to stop us from cooking. We explained in our other video. That's very important here. This is where it's nice to have that paddle. Start pushing them down. Okay, leave that just like that. I'm not going to put the top back on. That's just going to hold the heat in, so we'll leave it like that. We'll meet you guys back when we're ready to dump them in the ice chest, and then we're going to fire this sucker back up and put on our awesome veggies, so stay tuned. Our crawfish have been soaking in the boil for about 30 minutes now. I'll to let mine go a little bit longer just so you absorb a little bit more of that spice. If you want it a little bit less spicy, don't let it soak as long. So you can see I actually put my little Trinity sack in. I put it back in there for a little while. I figured always figured it's good to get a little bit of that extra flavor in there. I love the lemon, and the longer you let that lemon sit, the more it's going to absorb that flavor. So let's go ahead, get these out of here. Let it drain a little bit. All that juice. Then you look on just like in our other video. Really good. Just throwing crawfish everywhere. You know, it's all good. Alright. Now we have a bunch of awesome crawfish. And you know I can't just sit here and let these sit in this ice chest without trying one, so let's grab one. They're gonna be hot. That's okay. Alright, good pull. Oh yeah. These are just about perfect. Taste the lemon and everything. So if you saw, we have a video out there on how to peel crawfish, but you saw I just separated the head from the tail, and then let's see. Oh yeah, whole thing came right out. Perfect. You can't ask for better crawfish than that. Everyone out there, I hope you go out and try this. As you can see, you don't need a lot of equipment for this. For a couple $100, you can buy some, and you'll never have to buy. I mean, it's go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click the bell. We try to post at least once a week, but until then, happy cooking.